value pick at wide receiver, another rookie who disappointed somewhat to expectations, but you must be projecting a decent bounce back here with Jerry Jeudy. What do you like about this guy entering his sophomore season?
I mean, watching him, it feels like he is going to, things just did not go his way. It was star-crossed in year one. And part of that was that I think he only had 58.2% of his targets were actually deemed catchable balls, which is just preposterous and pretty damning for Drew Lock, So that led to a catch rate under 50% for a guy who's one of the best young route runners in the league. That we saw it at Alabama. This guy is really good at getting open. He got open a lot last year. I think either, Drew Lock's going to get better, or they're going to put Teddy Bridgewater in, or they're going to possibly trade for Aaron Rodgers. I think there's, in some way, the quarterback situation is going to improve, one way or another. And I just think his price is going to stay pretty depressed because, he didn't really get it going as a rookie. And, I just picked him in a charity best ball draft that my buddy Dan Klaskins is running. I think I got Jeudy in the 9th round. And it just kind of feels like stealing there. If you can get him that late, you got to do it.
My only 2 follow-ups on him. I love the player, love the routes, hated the QB play, but as you said, it can't be worse than it was last year, especially if Aaron Rodgers goes there. Good Lord. He'll go from, if you're getting him right now in round 9, if Rodgers went there, he'd have to be shooting up to rounds 4 or 5. But, so that could be some serious equity. That's a nice floor. I think that's a great price to be paying for him. My only questions would be, are you worried about the drops from last year? Because I know there was definitely a few that hit him right off the hands. And a lot of people point that out. And are you worried about Courtland Sutton's return, given his alpha status before he went down last year? Do you think he could jump him on the target totem pole, or do you think Jeudy stays at the top?
I think Jeudy and Sutton are going to be sort of co-equals there. Yeah. And I think it's, Tim Patrick, who's probably going to fall off the face of the earth now. And a guy who was getting a healthy number of targets near the end of the season. I think, maybe Jeudy takes a slight target haircut, although it wasn't like he was getting, monstrous Deontay Johnson style target numbers last year. I'm not too worried about the drops. I never really worry about that. That was a thing for Devontae Adams. Trust me, as a Packers fan, I can tell you about Devontae Adams drops his first couple of years. And, it kind of made you tear your hair out at the time. But obviously it was nothing, no indicator of future lack of NFL success. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not too worried. Those are just the 2 counters I often see brought up. But that route running, that is just it's next level. It could be top 5 in the league. So that's,
and I mean, the Sutton thing is fair for sure. There is a healthy amount of target competition there with Sutton and Fant and KJ Hamler. But, I do think Jeudy is going to carve out his niche in that passing game, and better quarterback play, I think, is all you need for at minimum, a high wide receiver 3 season. I think solid wide receiver 2, a top 20, top 25 season is well within the range of outcomes.
Not a round 9 price. There's not much to dislike there by any means. Absolutely. The wide receiver value I have is Robby Anderson, who I don't think anybody's ever I can't wait to draft Robbie. Woo. But I mean, this guy did finish last year as the wide receiver 20. We saw him have his best professional season of his career, and now is falling to wide receiver 35. But I think everything in his circumstances has improved. I'm plus 30 on the ECR compared to him overall. I have him right around 60. He's going, right around 90 right now. And I don't see why this situation isn't a repeat at wide receiver 20, if not even better than his value. For his value, he was 8th in targets and receptions last year. Now you remove 118 total touches from Curtis Samuel. That was 2nd behind only Stephon Diggs last year. I mean, that's a lot of work that goes up for grabs. Of course, Terrace Marshall, he's going to slide in, take some of that work. But I don't think it's going to be 118 total touches by any means. Then, Sam Darnold, you got to think, I mean, that is a big question mark. I can't sit here and say he's an automatic upgrade over Teddy Bridgewater. You'd hope he is. The team clearly thinks he is if they're going in on it. He certainly has a bigger arm talent at this point. But I do like the fact that they already have an established rapport. Now, there was never a sustained dominance between the two, but there definitely were some dominant stretches. I don't know if you remember, like at the end of 2018, where Robby Anderson just like came out of nowhere, a disappointing bust of that year, and it was on most waiver wires. Then suddenly just got, 11. I'm looking at it right now, 7, 11, 13 targets over the fantasy playoffs. And he won a ton of people titles because of that, over 30% target share. He only was behind DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy points for the fantasy playoffs that year. So 3-game sample, I'm obviously not saying that's going to be the 16 gamer, but there has been a connection. There has been a rapport. And you got to think that Darnold is going to carry that with him, a guy that he already knows and trusts and has played with. That certainly just doesn't hurt his case. So to me, everything has kind of improved from a volume, from a surrounding talent perspective for a guy that just had his best year of his career, and his price is going down. I don't see it. Do you have any thoughts on Robby Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Like, I'm always so interested in markets. Like, that's what's interesting about fantasy and the rankings. We do these rankings and how it compares to like the perception of these guys. And it does seem like he's going down, even though they lost Curtis Samuel and they got Terrace Marshall, but might take him a little while to get acclimated. And it was really interesting, man. I mean, in the past, we had seen a couple of big Decembers from Robby Anderson. He was kind of the fantasy Santa. Yeah. And then last year, he sort of popped early in the season, and then the touchdowns dried up a little bit. And I think that maybe that was kind of it. The guys that he, the people who rostered him got real excited early last year. And maybe by the end of the season, they were like, he hasn't really done too much for me the last couple months. But what was interesting was that Robby, this guy who was always kind of considered this deep ball artist when he was on the Jets, like he became more the short route specialist, and like DJ Moore was more the vertical guy last year, which kind of an interesting about face with those two. I wouldn't have seen that coming. Like I trust Matt Rule and Joe Brady. Like I trust this offense, even if I'm still figuring out what they're doing with their wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like I like Robby. I really like DJ Moore. I still don't quite know how these guys are going to fit this year, and especially with the new quarterback coming in. So, usage is going to be the key here. But I do think Robby at his current price is a value. I agree with you.
Very intriguing. Yeah, that is an interesting point too with Brady and Rule. Like they had an intriguing first year. Not quite. I was so stoked about this guy coming in from LSU, and it didn't blow the world off. It wasn't like the next Sean McVay in his first year, but got to imagine first time calling plays at the NFL level. That's not an easy task. So if he only gets better, like that's just another feather in the cap for why everyone could be better in this offense if Joe Brady improves.
And this Robby Rule connection that goes all the way back to college, and like Rule, I think lobbied to keep Robby in school when he was like in some sort of like, academic probation or something like that, and in danger of getting thrown out. And like Rule totally went to bat for him, kept him there. Like Robby loves this guy. And, I don't think he's going to be disappearing from the offense this year.
Not by any means. Love it. Well, what is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.